Hello, and welcome to the Photographing West podcast, episode number 96. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. I'm your host, Toby Flanagan. Twice a month, we bring you interviews with interesting people doing interesting things. Most are photographers, and today is no exception. Please welcome wildlife photographer Caron Gray. Hello, Caron.
Thank you. Hello, Kirby. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. So, talk about how you got started in photography. Well, I know we talked about that a while back.
Yeah. I would say that I started with photography when we went on vacations. We went to some places in Europe and we would get a camera, we'd take pictures, we'd look at the pictures when we came home, and then we'd put the camera away. Then we started going to Yellowstone in around 2005. Once again, took our pictures, looked at our pictures, and put the camera away for several years. Um, but we did update our lenses and our cameras as time went by, but we still didn't do a lot of photography once we were home. We didn't do any. So in about 2000 and let me think, 2015, I had joined a Facebook birding group from Wisconsin, and somebody posted the most beautiful duck I've ever seen in my life. I really didn't know birds much until 2015, and now I keep seeing more different birds. And I asked the person who had posted the picture, and he told me it was a hooded merganser. And he was very kind. He said, "Come on, and I will show you where the bird is." And after that day, I started trying to photograph every day, mostly birds. Well, you see birds so more often than deer or coyotes or fox, so birds seem like an easy thing to go with. That's pretty much how I started.
And then you gradually went from bird photography to wildlife photography in general. So
Right.
talk about that.
Mostly, well, we do have a really beautiful backyard. We have probably a square mile behind us of just field. So I do see coyotes occasionally and fox, and I do photograph deer back there. Uh, when I go to Yellowstone and the Tetons, which we try to do every year, I get a lot of different animals, and moose and bear, black and grizzly. Um, Coyotes. We saw a lot of coyotes last year. This year we only saw one coyote. Elk. We used to always go in the springtime, and we never got the antlers. And now I think we're pretty well stuck on going in the fall because we get to get the antlers now. So it's really very cool.
Yeah, the nice thing about springtime in Yellowstone is you get lots of babies, but yeah,
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the moose and the elk don't have deer or don't have antlers, or not very big ones anyway.
right. So it is fun to go in the spring. We did that. We've gone probably to Yellowstone probably 14, 15 different times.
Oh
And
wow.
all but 3 times it's been in the spring. And you can see things better in the spring. There's less leaves, so you can see things. You can see birds. Uh, but now we're pretty much liking seeing the antlers and the horns right now.
Yeah. Okay. Good to mix it up.
Yep.
So there's a place in Minnesota you were telling me about. Talk about that.
Okay. Uh, Probably the last 4 years, my friend and I have gone up to Sax Zim Bog. It's near Duluth, Minnesota, and yes, it's west of Duluth. Um,
Okay.
and we have gotten some gorgeous photos of great gray owls. We've gotten boreal owls 2 times, and northern hawk owls. They're very cool little birds, little owls. They're very good. they'll go right after a great gray owl's catch. If great gray owl's got a mouse or a vole, they're not afraid to go and try to steal it from them, and they're like so much smaller. So we
Yes.
get those. We get a lot of evening grosbeaks and pine grosbeaks. There's wolves there, although I've never seen one. Same as moose. They have, I think they're lynx that they have there, or bobcats, one or the other. I don't know if they're the same or not. They're there. We saw one running. We never were able to get a photo of it. It's just really beautiful. It's magical. You get this hoar-frost in the morning. It's magical. There's nothing like it that I've ever seen in my life. So can't wait to get back again this year and go at least one time, maybe twice. It's about a
Yeah. Sounds like it.
7-hour trip to get there, but it's well worth it. One year it's always really cold in the bog. It's like, seems like 10, 15 degrees colder than the surrounding areas. I took a picture of our thermometer in my car. It was minus 38.
That's pretty chilly.
Really chilly. So you have to dress super warm, long underwear, snow pants. You're really bundled up. Nobody gets to see really who you are. You're like, your eyes are showing. That's about it.
Yeah. So you're going in the winter time, I gather, or late fall.
No, winter always. As early as
Okay.
December, and I think we've gone into February a few times. But that's about the best time to see them. It's
Okay.
getting it's getting crowded there, which is unfortunate. Um, but owls are just the big hit, no matter what.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, every place seems to be getting crowded these days.
Yeah, Yellowstone and Tetons, definitely no exception. Steve and I never go in the middle of the summer ever. It's always in May or in September and October. Never, it's just, and it's still really busy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I do the same. Summers are just insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So speaking of the Yellowstone, the Tetons, how'd your trip go this year?
Oh, wow. It was fantastic. I don't think we've ever had so many opportunities to see grizzly bears. We saw the famous 399 and her four cubs. I caught them crossing the Snake River, swimming. It was really cool. It was like kind of a dream picture that I've always wanted to have. And
Yeah.
before she had crossed, and I had missed this, her older daughter, 6'10", had crossed coming towards her with her two cubs. So I missed that part. But I had all the bears, six bears, or six, seven, eight bears on one side. It was pretty amazing. Then we saw her where her usual stomping grounds are on Pilgrim Creek. We had a good opportunity to get lots of nice pictures of her, and I finally got my iconic picture I've always been waiting for, is the bear standing up. So I
Uh,
got a picture of one of the cubs standing up. So that was
yeah.
pretty cool. We saw quite a few black bear picking the berries. Then there was one actually in an area where cabins are, and this bear was eating something for the longest time and finally got up and went and sat on the porch of this cabin, and the rangers shoot it away. It took really a long time to shoo this bear away. I think they were really aggravated, but this bear did not want to leave. It was just didn't leave. So finally that moved off. What else? We got good moose. We had a lot of moose. We actually got sparring moose. I've never had sparring bulls. It was really cool.
Is that in
Um,
the Tetons or?
that was in the Tetons, yep,
Yeah.
near the Grovon River.
Right.
And there was a lot of cow moose, and some calves were still there for sure. We got some really great pictures. I was really very satisfied with what we got. I would say the best photographs of moose we've ever gotten. Uh, we didn't mean to be as close as what we were, but after the sparring, all of a sudden one came walking really right towards us. And so we hid behind the tree until he passed. It was pretty scary, actually.
Yeah,
But we
they're
got
big
some good
guys.
pictures. Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And let's see what else we got. We got some pronghorn. There's pretty many pronghorn. We got an opportunity 3 different times up in Yellowstone to get some great gray owl pictures. So that was very exciting. And it's our 3rd year in a row that we've ever gotten great gray owls. We've never gotten them before the last 3 years, so we were very lucky to have been able to photograph them and to see them. It was very exciting. What else did we get? Well, I don't know. We got so many things. It was just terrific. I did a little bit of landscape photography. I kind of wished I had done more now, but we didn't. We were on the go the entire time looking and searching for animals. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds like you had good luck. Maybe
Yeah.
I have to start going in the fall more.
Yeah,
you
it's
saw
pretty cool.
you saw lots of stuff that I certainly haven't seen going in the spring. So,
Oh, yeah.
so you mentioned you're having a large backyard, and you do a lot of bird photography out there. Do you use setups or feeders, or how do you do all that?
Um, Probably the last 4 years we've been setting up feeders. Probably I would have about 5 or 6, mostly finch feeders. We seem to get a lot of finch, but I put out peanuts for the blue jays, and uh, we get a lot of different birds back there. I always have a bird bath for them, and in the winter I have a heated bird bath because they truly need their water. Steve, my husband, and we counted the species that we had in our backyard at one point. We've got over 50 species, and I think that's really amazing for somebody's backyard. I just
Yeah,
think
that
that's
is
so
amazing.
cool. Yeah. Our whole yard is like surrounded by trees and brush and bushes, and it's an old 50-year house with really old trees, so big trees, but the whole neighborhood is like that. So we have lots of birds and places for the birds to go. It's pretty terrific. We've got some great horned owls that we've never seen, but boy, we hear them calling back and forth to each other. One day we will see them. We actually did. We actually did see one in our next door neighbor's yard for about 1 second, so I have to take that back, but not in my yard.
Okay.
We get a lot of hawks, Cooper's hawks. We have had a family here this summer, and they visit my yard often. He's not very the
Yeah.
one that
Wow.
yeah the one that comes in is not very successful, which is good. Not for him though.
Yeah. Yeah. They like to hunt in backyards, I guess, from what I've read anyway.
Yes, they do.
So you're a Canon gal and have been for a while, and but recently changed to the new R5. How was that experience?
I like the R5 pretty well. Uh, I think I have had a lot of clarity in my pictures. It's fast, and the reason I got it is because I am 64 years old now, and I have a 5D Mark IV, and I have a 400 millimeter lens, and it was getting so heavy. My arms would get so tired because I don't ever shoot with a tripod. So I know that the R5 was going to be lighter, and I think that the lenses are going to be less weight to them. I did end up getting a 100 to 500 that's for the R5, and it's very nice. It's very light. So I'm hoping for a 400 or a 500 prime, and maybe next year they'll come out with something. I have had a couple issues with my R5. One problem was my camera would just stop. It would just freeze up. There was nothing I could do. So I called Canon, and they said, whenever we hear this, it's generally the grip that I bought. And so he said, take the grip off and see how that works. So I took that off, and I think it only froze up 2 times, and it hasn't since then. So I'm going to be sending the grip back to Canon and see what they can do for me. Hopefully fix it or replace it, one or the other, because it's the R5 really sucks the batteries pretty quickly. So it's kind of nice to be able to have a second battery just in case you got some good stuff and you don't want to stop shooting. So that
Right.
was a problem. And then one other problem that I have with it once in a while is it won't focus on things that are closer to me. It kind of is trying to find something behind me, not behind me, behind the subject I'm trying to focus on. So I'm not the only person that's got that problem, and I think it's probably something I'm going to have to learn how to deal with better to get back on the subject. But I've missed a few shots of birds that I really didn't want to miss when they were closer to me. But other than that, I like it. I like it a lot. I didn't, when I went out to the Tetons a few weeks ago, I brought my 5D Mark IV, and I didn't pick it up one time. I used the R5. I was really happy. It's also very good in low light, the R5. And that was another reason why I wanted to buy it. I have a very dark backyard. As I said, it's surrounded by trees. And I often can shoot with 12,800 ISO with that. So that's pretty amazing. I could never do that with the Mark IV. It was like 5,000 tops on that, and that was really pushing it.
Wow. So at 12,800, there's still not a lot of noise.
There's some noise, but I work with a couple of programs when I do my post processing. One is Photoshop, and the other is Topaz, and they have a program, or it might be called a plugin in Topaz called Denoise, and that does a really good job of taking out the noise. It really does a great job. So at 12,800, it takes out the noise, and I've got pictures that are pretty good.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about that. I need to check that out myself.
Yeah.
So what other photo gear do you have? You mentioned the 2 camera bodies, and you've got a variety of lenses, I think you told me.
Right. Um, Between my husband and I, we have a 600 millimeter f4. We have a 400 f4. We have a 300 2.8. We have a couple of 100 to 400s. And I just got the new 100 to 500 that goes with the mirrorless. And we also have, did I say 70 to 200? We have a 70 to 200 and a 24 to 105. And I've got a macro lens as well.
Oh, well, you got the whole range covered there. It sounds like.
Yeah, we do. It's amazing. It's from somebody that had Tamron lenses 15 years ago with her little Rebel XT. It's amazing how things have evolved.
Yeah,
It's pretty wonderful.
I think that's called gear acquisition syndrome.
Yeah, yeah, we don't have a problem getting it. Well, I don't. My husband's like, oh, a little much.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's,
that works both ways in different marriages, I guess.
yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty wonderful to let me get what I want.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah,
So he photographs as well.
he does. He does photography. He enjoys it a lot. He can't go out as much as me, unfortunately, because he still is working. He owns an accounting firm, which I'm trying to get him to sell so that he can go out and photograph whenever he wants. And right now he doesn't know how to do any editing. So unfortunately, I have to edit his photos. So he didn't get many of his pictures done from the Grand Tetons yet because I haven't even done all mine, and I've only did a couple of days of his yet. So he promised once he retires, he's going to learn how to use Photoshop, which will be really good.
You got to keep working to pay for all those lenses.
I I know we think about that because I do want to get that one more prime for my
Yeah,
new camera.
yeah, primes are great.
Yeah,
So, how do you do your post processing? You said you use Photoshop.
yeah. I use Photoshop. You know, I shoot raw, so I open it through Bridge and then into raw. And looking at the picture, if it looks pretty good, I just open it up. Sometimes I change, maybe take the highlights down, maybe a little bit less exposure. I don't do a lot. So I open it up in Photoshop and I do my cropping. And if I think there's some noise, I'll take it through Topaz and I'll clean up a little bit of noise. I don't use a lot of the filters that Topaz has, but I do like the do noise. It's good. Um, I also use Nick once in a while. I think it's called DXO now, and they also I use maybe their I think it's called Silver.
Silver Effects Pro.
That's it, and change things to black and white.
Yeah,
So I like to use that program for that. And Photoshop just came out with something really neat. My friend told me about it. It actually, so you shoot birds, right? And so you got the sky, it's white, it's not very pretty. There's a new from the 2021 for Photoshop. What is this called? It's called,
sky replacement.
yes, sky replacement. And I played with it yesterday, first time last night for just a little bit. It's actually pretty amazing. It's really amazing. Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it. I watched a tutorial on it last night, and not only can you use it on the sky, you can invert it and use it on the foreground if you want to do adjustments there. So
Oh
pretty
wow.
cool.
Yeah, I need to watch the video.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's pretty good.
Okay, great.
So let's go ahead and take a look at your photos here.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen. And okay. Oops. All right, there we go. Let me enlarge it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Oh boy. Well, there you are.
so this is $3.99.
This is $3.99. The 24-year-old sow grizzly bear. She's
Yeah, she's pretty
fantastic.
amazing.
Yep. And amazing that she came out of her den with 4 cubs, 24 years old. I think that's
Yeah,
just amazing.
yeah.
Uh,
I saw her. What 2017? They were out by the road, and got some great pictures. In fact, I heard where she was. She was in one of the pullouts in the Tetons, and so a ranger told me about it. So I went up there, and sure enough, there she was, and along with a bunch of photographers, of course.
yeah.
So I pulled in front of all the other cars, so I wouldn't block anybody. And so anyway, I got out of the truck and walked around the front of it, and there she was, about 5 feet from me.
Oh,
So she looked at me like, "What do you want?" And then I hastily retreated and got back in the truck, and she proceeded to cross the road with her 2 cubs, and I got some great pictures of her
oh,
and the cubs. So ended up being a great experience.
Yeah. What a moment in your life, isn't it? Just amazing.
Yeah,
She graces your presence. It's just so cool.
yeah, and I guess one of the rangers told me that they were amazingly tolerant of people. 399.
Yeah.
This is one of her cubs, I'm guessing.
This is one of her cubs in my picture I always wanted to get. So I finally got it.
Yeah, it's great. Where was this?
This was at Pilgrim Creek that she had crossed whatever the main road is and walked over to Pilgrim Creek. And they were very accommodating. I would say 25, 30 minutes of being able to photograph them from walking across the main highway. And then she walked almost all the way back, where you can hang the animal kills. And then she walked backwards into the woods. And that was the last time we saw her this past year. But it was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
It was,
I'm surprised they had Pilgrim Creek open because they had it blocked when I was there in the spring. So,
well, I will tell you, uh, it was shut down probably 2 days later. There was a fire there
oh,
by Pilgrim Creek. So I think they shut it down because of that. And somehow they didn't think that she was able to move from one side through where the fire was. I don't know. And they shut down Pilgrim Creek. So I don't think the fire was that close. It was way up in the mountains. I don't know why, but they shut it down.
or
But should I
many.
tell you the story about my daughter in 399 or not really?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My daughter she was 18 years old. It was her first year out of high school. And I said to her, because we had gone the year before to the Tetons in Yellowstone, it was our first time. I said, Amy, you have got to go there. You can get a job, go with your boyfriend, have a fun time. So she wanted to be a wrangler. So she got a job at Jackson Lake Lodge as a wrangler. And they had her working the morning, bringing out the food for the horseback riders because they would do breakfast runs and then they would make a nice breakfast for them. So one time, about 2 weeks after being there, she was with a quality control guy and they're riding in their trail in the truck with the food. And she sees a bear and her cubs in the middle of the road. So she slams her brakes on, and the brakes, I guess, were loud. The bear and her cubs ran behind her. She said about I don't know, is it 100 feet? And she wanted to see what the bear was doing. So she got out of the car and she looks, and there's a man on the trail, and he had chunks ripped out of his shoulder and his buttocks. And what had happened, this was a jogger, and he got in between 399 and her cubs and an elk kill. And so my daughter actually is 5 minutes earlier than she typically was because of the quality control guy. So they pulled this guy into the truck, backed out of the trail, had called up 911, and the man was saved. They brought him to Jackson Hospital, and he was saved. And if my daughter was 5 minutes later, it may have turned out a little bit differently.
All right.
So that was her moments of fame. So she saved this man from 399. So it was a very cool story. So
Big mistake to get between bears and a kill or get between
yeah,
sows and their cubs. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. And she was very upset that they didn't put the bear down, but she came to learn finally why that bear didn't do anything wrong. That bear did not attack that man out of anything besides being in the way of her food and her cubs. And it was a normal situation, a normal thing for a bear to do. So
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people would be upset if anybody shot 399. That's
Oh
for sure.
yeah, no kidding. So, oh, here is a photo of a pika. Like I
Yeah,
say, we've
that's
gone maybe 14, 15 years to Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons, and we have gone so many times at these particular spots where pika are supposed to be, and we've never gotten one until this year. This was our first year, and we had opportunity 2 different days to go and photograph pika. They are adorable. Um, they were eating the grass, stuffing it in their mouths, and sometimes they would take the grass and probably take it back to their little dens, and probably they were feathering their dens for the winter. They were not afraid of us. Of course, we had a good distance away from them, and they were really nice to see. So we were very excited to finally get a pika.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, they actually build up a food supply for the winter. They don't hibernate, so they take all that grass in there and build their own haystacks, I guess, and that's what gets them through the winter. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So
they
so
that was working hard. Go ahead.
uh, so where did you find these guys? Because I've looked for them too and never had any luck.
All right, they're well, I know sheep eaters cliff.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah, been there every year. I can't tell you how many times each time when we've gone there. And they're never there. There were marmots there. We would always get the marmots. And at first we thought those were pika. Then it didn't take long to realize, well, those were marmots. Uh, but now this year there were no marmots there. So I don't know if they moved the marmots out. I'm not really sure. But we had the pika and no marmots.
Huh.
So you'll have to try that again.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I've seen lots of yellow-bellied marmots there, and they always pose nicely for you if you're patient, anyway.
Yeah,
So didn't know there were pika there, but it's yeah, it's kind of typical habitat for them, I guess.
right. Right. There's a few
Okay.
other places I'm not real sure of where they are, but there are a few other places people have found them in Yellowstone too.
Yeah, there's a place they're supposed to be in Yellowstone on the way to Lamar Valley, and been there several times, didn't see a thing, but
Uh,
maybe at the wrong time, or who knows. So this is your moose, I guess, huh?
this is my moose. This is, I think, the one that won the battle when he was jousting with his friend, not really his friend. And he's doing the lip curl.
Yeah,
And I think it's, what is it, Fairman, something like
Fairman,
that.
yeah, Fairman,
Yeah.
yeah,
So he was smelling a cow moose, and she must have smelled pretty sweet because we have this good reaction from him. Uh, that was really wonderful to watch. I've never really seen that behavior. Like I say, we've only gone a few times in the fall, and we did not see this behavior last fall at all. So it was pretty wonderful timing when we were able to see this.
yeah,
It was pretty cool. And then we ended up seeing the mighty Shoshone. He's the biggest moose in the Grand Tetons, and we got some photographs of him. It was kind of in the middle of the afternoon, a little bit too much light for what I care for, but at least we saw him.
yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, we were there in the spring again. I think it was 2017, but anyway, and we were in the Tetons, and I don't even remember what road it is, but we came upon a newborn moose. In fact, he still had the umbilical cord attached,
Oh my!
and the umbilical cord was still attached at the other end as well. So we got to watch that whole sequence. Not the
Oh,
prettiest
wow.
sight in the world, but it was a wonderful thing to see. And then we got to see the the baby get up on its feet within a few minutes, and a little bit later, it was already nursing. So it was,
Wow.
yeah, of a lifetime memory, that's for sure.
Right. Were you one of the only ones out there at that time, or was there a mass of
No,
people?
there wasn't a mass, but there were, I don't know, half dozen other photographers there, I
Oh,
guess.
that's not
So
bad.
yeah, so we got the pictures we wanted, and without bothering her, she was fine with it,
Oh,
and basically ignored us. It's a little bigger, and so we got what we wanted, and then we moved on, so we didn't disturb her or let other people have a chance at it if they wanted. So yeah, it was a great experience.
oh, that's so cool.
Bluebird, obviously, is that Eastern or Western? I can't tell
That's
the
a
difference.
mountain bluebird. It's a
Okay,
mountain blue. We
beautiful.
Yeah, we found a flock of them. It was by Mormon Row, and we were just happened
Uh,
to be cutting across, going to another place, going through Mormon Row. There's probably 45, 50 of them, and they were eating some great little bugs. I don't know what they were eating. Uh, we photographed them maybe for 15, 20 minutes. I could have stayed longer, but my husband was kind of done, and the friend we were with, he was kind of done, so we went off, and then went back a few more times to look for them, and they were nowhere to be found. So the thing
huh,
is, when you see something, you better take the photograph because there's a good chance with wildlife they're not going to be there again. So
exactly.
we learned that. A lot of immature mountain bluebirds were there as well, but I bet you 45, 50 of them, and they were perching fairly close to us. So we were shooting right out of our car.
Uh,
It was pretty wonderful. I think I was in the back seat. My husband was of course, in the front, and we shoot like that sometimes, so that we don't have to try to shoot over each other. So one of
right.
us
Yeah.
going works out well.
Yeah. Good plan. That's a gorgeous shot and beautiful color on the bird for that time of the year.
Right.
Let's see, I think we got one more here. Our favorite.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, great, great owl. It is magnificent. I can't even begin to tell you. The first time I saw one, which was not here, was in Saxon Bog. I started to cry. I was so overwhelmed by its beauty. They're such nice owls. They're pretty tolerant of people. Um, I just can't say enough about how beautiful these birds are. He posed for us quite a bit. Um, there was only a few people photographing them at times. It was at a location in Yellowstone, which I won't share. But one night we drove by the same location. We were coming back down into the Tetons, and I don't know. There's probably 50, 60 people. It made me a little sick. I don't know. It was very irritating to see so many people trying to chase this beautiful great gray owl, and all they're trying to do is eat. They're just trying to survive. Um,
Right.
but they are a very tolerant owl, um, but you hate to see so many people all over them. It's kind of sad.
Yes, indeed. It's yeah.
Owls are owls. People get so excited with owls.
Yes, they do. And
Yeah.
well, yeah. I could make some comments, but I won't. I think I told you my great gray owl story. I back when we were living in Ohio, a friend of mine, Dan Beam, who's a great bird photographer, uh, heard about a great gray owl up in Ontario. So he asked me if I wanted to go up there with him. I said, sure. Not really knowing much about great gray owls at that point, but it sounded like a great trip to me. So we went, and of course there were other people up there, and we were all along this fence line where the owl was hunting, and he or she basically ignored us. And then I got some flight pictures, which I'm quite proud of. And then I was standing away from the fence a bit, and it flew up and landed on a fence post like this, except I think it was a wooden one, and about 5 or 6 feet away from me. And I had my 600 on at the time, I think, because so all I got was a hit, basically a headshot. But again, another great experience.
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, a beautiful headshot is pretty fantastic too.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
that happened one time in the Tetons with us. All of a sudden, my husband and I looked, and it was sitting right next to the car on a road sign. We're like, and all I could get was the head, but I was okay with that. What are you going to do?
yeah, I've spent hours looking for them at other times and not seen a one. So enjoy them while you can.
You bet.
Okay, so tell everybody where they can find your photos.
Okay. I usually just post on my Facebook wall um, and a few other uh, groups in Facebook. I'm also an administrator of a birding group in Wisconsin. There's about 25,000 members. So that's called Wild Birds of Wisconsin. Most people wouldn't probably want to join unless they're from Wisconsin, but I do post on there frequently. And then also I'm on Instagram, and I need to add some more pictures. I haven't done it for a while, but it's Caron Gray Photography.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can send me the links to those different pages and I'll put them in the show notes so people can find your wonderful photos.
Oh, thank you.
So, Karen, thanks for being on Photographing the West. It's been great fun talking to you about photography and your photo journey. Show notes and Karen's photos can be found in the show notes at www.flanaganphotos.com, as can the audio and video podcasts. You can also find the audio podcasts on iTunes and many other RSS feeds as Photographing the West, and the video podcast on YouTube as Flanagan Photos. Bye for now.
Bye. Nice talking with you, Kirby.
Same here.